Schools are back in session.
But with just a couple of weeks down, many are still dealing with staffing shortages, including educational technicians.
As Alyssa Thurlow reports, a new program is helping schools fill that need.
I think that it's just really a great way to not only fill the positions in the classrooms, but really to provide the schools with skilled professionals.
Erica Bernier is just one of hundreds of students who have completed the Learning Facilitator program. The Fast Track Training Program, which is done mostly online, is for paraprofessional level educators and designed to help Maine schools fill critical staffing shortages. The Learning Facilitator program here at Eastern Maine Community College is in partnership with the Maine Department of Education. The program does require commitment for one full academic year, but there's no cost to those enrolled.
It's a micro-credential program, but really it's just a combination of credit-bearing coursework and then competency-based coursework and apprenticeship hours in a classroom.
Participants who complete the program are eligible to receive an Education Technician 3 through the Maine Department of Education.
Often there's a big place for them in special education and working one-on-one with students, right? So that's a high need area as well for Ed Tech 3s and that higher level of qualification.
The program itself supports the work that people are doing in the schools, so what they're learning in the program, they're able to apply in the classroom. We actually see a lot of learners that come through the program and they complete it and they decide, I want to go back to school, I want to finish my degree, I want to become a classroom teacher. So this program really gives them the confidence to take on that risk that they may not have otherwise done prior to.
The program has grown immensely in the last few years. There's 180 students currently enrolled, with more than 200 on a waiting list. Instructors say there is plenty of support available to those who are interested in working in education or just want to further develop their existing skill set.
That's the biggest thing that people need to know, is that there's people here who want them here and to be in the field, and we're ready to help them figure out their pathway to that.
Alyssa Thurlow, WABI TV5 News, Bangor.
To apply, you must be a Maine resident, 18 years of age before the start of the course, have a high school diploma or equivalent, and you must have a clean criminal record. More information on the Learning Facilitator program can be found on our website.